airplanes are the safest mode of transportation in the world, the probability of an accident is only about 0.00001%. However, once a disaster does occur, it can turn into a true tragedy. In such cases, the chances of survival are almost zero. But that doesn't mean there are no exceptions. This is a story from more than 50 years ago. A civilian airliner was sabotaged with a bomb and exploded in midair. Most remarkable of all was the miraculous survival of a young flight attendant who fell from more than 10,000 meters, 33,000 feet. How could that have happened? A mystery that the world was desperate to solve. So, what was the ultimate truth? We will reveal it all in this account. At 2:30 p.m. on January 26, 1972, at Copenhagen Airport in Denmark, Flight 367 of the Yugoslav National Airline had just landed after departing from Stockholm Arlanda, Sweden. This was a scheduled stop before heading to its next layover at Zagreb Airport in Croatia. During the layover, passengers disembarked and the old crew was replaced. The new crew included 2 pilots and 3 flight attendants waiting to board. Among them was 22-year-old Serbian flight attendant Vesna Vulović. According to schedule, this was supposed to be her day off, but due to a mix-up with another flight attendant who shared her first name, Vesna was assigned to this flight instead. She was thrilled. This was her first time visiting Denmark. From the window, the crew could see their aircraft, a McDonnell Douglas DC-932, registration UAHT, a narrow-body jetliner equipped with 2 Pratt & Whitney engines. It had only been in service for a year, accumulating a total of 2,091 flight hours. Due to the short distance, Vesna and others could easily spot a male passenger looking extremely irritated as he exited the aircraft. Little did she know, this man would change her life and the lives of everyone on that flight, forever. He had checked in luggage in Stockholm for the flight to Copenhagen but never boarded again. Why? Inside his luggage was a homemade time bomb. It was so skillfully built that security staff failed to detect it. This man was a member of the Ustaše, a Croatian nationalist terrorist group. Between 1962 and 1982, these groups carried out 128 terrorist attacks targeting Yugoslav civilian and military sites. At 3:14 p.m., the aircraft was cleared for takeoff. On board were 28 people, 23 passengers, and 5 crew members. Captain Ljubomir Vučević and First Officer Rado Mihić completed their final checks, started the engines, and taxied to the runway. "Hello, this is your captain speaking. We are heading to Zagreb, Croatia. The flight will last about 2 hours. On behalf of the crew, we wish you a pleasant journey." The initial stage of the flight was smooth. The plane climbed to its cruising altitude under the guidance of local air traffic control. After passing the Hermsdorf NDB station in East Germany, the DC-9 reached its maximum altitude of 33,000 feet, about 10,050 meters. By 4:01 p.m., halfway through the journey, the flight attendants began serving meals and drinks to passengers. At the same time, something sinister was quietly unfolding. The time bomb hidden in the suitcase, the DC-9's fate, was counting down its final seconds. Just seconds later, an explosion erupted from the forward baggage compartment, igniting the DC-9's fuel tank. The aircraft instantly lost cabin pressure and became uncontrollable. Within moments, it broke apart into 3 pieces in the sky near the village of Srbska Kamenić, Czechoslovakia. The violent decompression flung most passengers out of the aircraft, their bodies battered by the force. At such an altitude, combined with the frigid 55°C temperature, the chance of survival was virtually zero. On that cold winter day, in stark contrast to the usual peacefulness, The small village, only a few miles from the East German border, witnessed the mid-air explosion. Debris rained down, igniting into fierce flames upon impact. A local man named Bruno Honka heard faint cries for help in the distance. When he reached the crash site, the full horror came into view. Within a radius of about 1.5 kilometers, bodies lay scattered. In a section believed to be the cockpit, both pilots were still strapped to their seats, hands gripping the control yokes. It was clear they had fought to save the aircraft until the very end. A short distance away, Bruno spotted a woman in a blood-stained blue uniform, barely clinging to life atop a snowbank. Her body was severely injured, but Bruno, who had served as a medic in World War II, immediately administered first aid until rescuers arrived. That woman was flight attendant Vesna Vulović, the sole survivor of the doomed flight. All 27 passengers and her fellow crew members had perished. Her miraculous survival stunned both the Yugoslav public and the international community. The media, medical experts, and scientists all asked the same question. How could a human survive a fall from more than 10,000 meters? Although alive, Vesna was gravely injured. Medical scans revealed a fractured skull, brain hemorrhaging, broken legs, fractured vertebrae, broken ribs, and a shattered pelvis. These injuries left her temporarily paralyzed and in a coma. After many months of treatment at a hospital in Prague, Czechoslovakia, she began to recover. In March 1972, she was transferred to Belgrade, Serbia. There, she remained under 24-hour police protection, as authorities feared that the perpetrators of Flight 367's destruction might try to silence her. Yet, Vesna revealed that all her memories from shortly before the crash were gone. She only remembered seeing a man with his suitcase, a detail that reinforced the conclusion that the plane had been bombed. Investigators then analyzed the DC-9's wreckage and her injuries to find answers. Their first conclusion was that Vesna had likely survived because she was in the rear section of the plane, the safest location in such an event. When the explosion occurred, her food cart pinned her against the rear bulkhead, preventing her from being sucked out like the others. Another crucial factor was the terrain. The wreckage fell into a dense, snow-covered forest. The trees and snow acted like a cushion, absorbing some of the impact. Additionally, Vesna had been physically strong thanks to a lifelong healthy diet: chocolate, egg yolks, fish oil, and, as she put it, the stubborn toughness of her Serbian heritage. Still, some experts argued this didn't fully explain her survival. Even if she had landed in a favorable position, the immense air pressure differential at such altitude should have caused her blood pressure to spike fatally, rupturing her heart and damaging her internal organs instantly. This led to a disturbing new question. Was a darker truth being covered up? In Yugoslavia, Vesna Vulović was celebrated as a national hero, becoming famous across the Soviet Union and other Warsaw Pact countries. She was even awarded a commemorative medal by Yugoslav President Josip Broz Tito. Serbian folk singer Miroslav Ilić wrote a tribute song titled "The Flight Attendant." The village where she had fallen made her an honorary citizen. In 1985, the Guinness World Records recognized Vesna for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. Her record surpassed others who had lived through long falls without parachutes, such as Nicholas Alcamade, a Royal Air Force airman who bailed from a burning Avro Lancaster at 5,490 meters, and Ivan Chisov, a Soviet Air Force lieutenant who leapt from an Ilyushin Il-4 at about 7,000 meters. After the horrific crash, Vesna returned to work for JAT Airways. Though not as a flight attendant, she was assigned a desk job instead. Her stability didn't last long. In the early 1990s, Vesna was fired for publicly opposing Serbian politician Slobodan Milošević, president of Serbia from 1989 to 1997, and the first president of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, later charged with genocide. Fearing public backlash, authorities did not arrest her. However, pro-Milošević tabloids launched a smear campaign, claiming Flight 367 had actually been shot down by a surface-to-air missile and that Vesna had fallen from a much lower altitude than reported. In 2009, this claim was reinforced by two journalists, Peter Hornung and Pavel Tyner. Citing Czechoslovak Civil Aviation Authority documents, they alleged that Flight 367 was shot down by a Czechoslovak Air Force MiG fighter, that Vesna fell from only 800 meters, and that Czechoslovak security forces staged the bombing narrative to cover it up. To support their theory, they quoted witnesses from Srpska Kamenec who said they saw the plane burning but intact while flying below low clouds. A Serbian aviation expert present at the crash site also confirmed the debris field was too small for a high-altitude mid-air explosion. Moreover, some witnesses claimed to have seen a second aircraft. The journalists suggested Flight 367 may have entered a sensitive military zone, close to a nuclear weapons facility. However, the Czech Civil Aviation Authority soon dismissed these claims as conspiracy theories. Text magazine quoted a military expert. If a missile had been fired, the noise would have been heard by thousands, and there would have been visible smoke trails. Additionally, a Czechoslovak air defense radar operator on duty that day said that if any Czechoslovak aircraft had appeared in the sky at that time, East German air defense would have immediately detected it. Defending Vesna, the American TV show Mythbusters recreated her fall. They concluded survival was possible, depending on the position of the aircraft during descent and the survivor's seating position. Another key piece of evidence came from the DC-9's flight data recorder, FDR. Dutch experts analyzed the FDR data, revealing precise information on the aircraft's time, speed, heading, acceleration, and altitude at the moment of the explosion. Later, a man claiming to be a Croatian nationalist phoned the Swedish newspaper Kvällsposten and took responsibility for the Flight 367 bombing. This confirmed the official conclusion. The crash was the result of terrorism. Only then did the full truth come to light. A congenital medical condition may have inadvertently saved the flight attendant's life. Many years later, when she was older, Vesna Vulović indirectly revealed her secret. From birth, she had suffered from a heart condition and had much lower blood pressure than average. With such low blood pressure, Vesna should never have been accepted for a job that involved frequent flying as a flight attendant. However, during her interview with JAT Airways, she cheated by drinking large amounts of coffee to raise her blood pressure temporarily, allowing her to pass the medical exam undetected. Her doctors later determined that this very condition might have saved her life. The low blood pressure caused her to lose consciousness quickly when the cabin depressurized, sparing her from the catastrophic explosive decompression effect that could rupture the heart and fatally damage internal organs in a person with normal blood pressure while still in the air. This conclusion became the missing key to a mystery the world had been trying to solve for decades. Despite her former glory, Vesna Vulović, though she married a mechanical engineer, was never able to have children. In her later years, she struggled with chronic heart disease, living in a rundown apartment in Belgrade on a monthly pension of just €300. She often lamented that, had the crash never happened, her parents might not have died so early, and the tragedy might not have destroyed her family. In December 2016, she passed away at her home. Her body was only discovered days later when friends came to visit. It was a somber end for the woman once known as the luckiest woman in the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next one.